Hello, this is the LEGO Star Wars B-Wing fighter from 2006. Not the first B-Wing fighter that LEGO officially released, and not the most recent. Rather, this is right in the middle. As a result, the part count on this one is much lower than on the most recent one. However, it is much more detailed, more smooth, and more curvy than the oldest, which was from the days when they were still very angular. They just didn't have many curved parts. So this really captures LEGO design and part availability evolution in motion. You can just see kind of a very direct gradient from the oldest to the newest, and this is just a stop right along the way. There was some bad news that was associated with these days here when this one was made. This was during the time when LEGO made its bad stickers. The stickers that did not last, the stickers that today are cracking up and falling off in the worst possible ways that gave LEGO stickers in general a very, very, very bad reputation. Well, at some point later in the 2000s, they changed materials, thankfully. And before the 2000s, they had used different materials. But during this time right here, they were really bad. So a lot of folks who got sets from this era really, really hate stickers because to them, stickers don't last. But it was just a phase that they went through, a very bad phase, a very unfortunate one. And this does have some stickers that are just starting to get ready to peel off. It actually looks pretty good in its folded up, landed form and mode. You got that fairly low profile to the whole thing because it is the blade wing after all. But there's still some thickness to it, some substance to it, and it's fairly durable. It's got a decently beefy build. Now this model did still have the self-leveling cockpit design, just gravity just causes that to always stay oriented, vertical, relative to the ground. Of course, in actual space, dogfighting scenarios, you don't have a lot of gravity working against you, but this is just intended to simulate the gyroscopic stabilization and the independent rotation that the cockpit could achieve in the real thing. In universe, it's nice to have that. I think that's a really important thing. As for S-foils here, these are on ratcheted hinges here, so they're actually decently sturdy as well, and I personally feel like that's an even better look right there. I think that this was done very nicely for its full S-foils deployed form. Pretty nice looking proportions, and I think one of the things that I liked about this version in particular the most was just how flat the bottoms of these S-foils were or are. They didn't use any extra plates underneath here to add any stability or to hold those together, and that left less texture down there, less change of height, less change of shape, and I feel like that just makes that look about as good as it possibly can for being the undersides of LEGO plates. Normally the undersides of things look bad, but using just two pieces, mostly two pieces for each foil there, I think worked out pretty well. And of course from the other side, it looks much nicer, much more smooth. Got handful of stickers used there. They give you a little extra detail up here. This is also stickers applied here with just a little bit of the wear pattern associated with that, so that's pretty good. Looking at the other side of this, the main fuselage though, there you've got the undersides of plates, and that's not too bad here. Kind of minimized the number of parts used there, and it does bring in some of the shaping, kind of simulates some of the curvature. Maybe they could have used a little bit more down here just for the sake of consistency. This definitely doesn't look as good to me as the S-foils themselves. But all things considered, again, for looking at the undersides of plates, didn't turn out too bad. Now this also came with a stand or platform, little maintenance bay, which works great because even though this is tall and unwieldy and most of the weight is up high on the model, this actually holds it, which is phenomenal. It's great for display. That looks really, really good. The only problem with this is that you've got a lot of height here, so maybe it won't fit on all the shelves, but like a bookcase or something like that. But it's it's nice to be able to get it to stand. I'm always asking for things to come with stands, and this came with a stand. You know, I think that the UCS model did this the best for just display of the ship itself, but you know, this has room to bring the S foils down most of the way, not all the way. But yeah, it's a pretty respectable little stand. It's interesting that the entire model with the stand has fewer pieces than the most recent 2014 model that didn't have a stand at all. And you can see there's a good amount of detail built into this thing. Little platforms on the sides where you can be doing maintenance on the weapons, and those have stickers on the tops of them as well. And this came with a full tool set. You could set those up down there. And there are a couple of things on the other side which are peculiar. What are these? Little axles with stoppers, and they've got some Technic ball pieces at the ends. These are actually projectiles, and there is an action feature that's built into this B-wing right up in the center nacelles. So got a couple holes in there. You can stick this in that way, and then the other one will just go on the other side. See, there's another hole right there. Those can actually be used as projectiles. Now they do seem to just sit there. I haven't found any good way to really keep them from being free floating there, because if at this point if I just lift the whole model up and just tilt it forward, then those will just fall out on their own. So that's not so cool. However, how this is supposed to work is you load these up, and then this section back here can be pulled back. You don't want to really grab it from the ends of the engines. You want to grab it from in here a little bit farther, because these can be pulled off a little bit more easily. But all this pulls back, look at that. Or you can just pull it from this little spot right here. It's just kind of a small thing. I like to just grab the whole thing and get better grip on it. But you pull that back, they're able to retreat back in there a little bit more, and then you're set. Let them go. They don't go very far. It's just loaded up with a single white rubber band inside of there, but it's something. Kind of work like maybe torpedoes, more like bombs. You saw the arc. They don't really go very far. One last thing on details for the model. The canopy opens forward, which is nice, and I think for its day and for its size, it's a 4-wide build that tapers towards the front. I think this has a good amount of detail, and the pilot doesn't have to lean back too ridiculously far. You know, leaning back a little bit, I think you can make him, yeah, you can actually make him sit up just a little bit more than that, but it looks like he's looking out rather than looking up, you know, like some of them that have to lean back way too far. And that's supposed to represent a little targeting computer or something there. It makes sense. And, you know, the control stick can actually fit into the hand. So I think that's good enough. Better than good enough. Again, especially for its age. You know, I talked about this being in the middle of the evolution of LEGO Star Wars from the beginning to the most recent. Well, there's a lot more evidence of that right here, because on the left is Ten Num, and obviously is using the flesh tone, and that's, you know, it's respectably well detailed on the torso. I could have used a little bit more on the torso here, but the face especially is more like a modern one than an old one, for sure. You know, the original one used yellow skin still. This here is a generic B-wing pilot, and look at that! That is an original smiley face, but on the light flesh tone, the so-called realistic light flesh tone. So very much in between the new and the old. However, this did have a nice helmet print on it. Again, LEGO Star Wars has done just great through the years with their helmet prints, and this one isn't, you know, one of the better ones, but it's not bad. And that's supposed to be a power screwdriver in his hand. It just finishes out the maintenance tools that you can use at the base. But then here you've got the now standard style of medium Star Wars blaster. I got this set used, of course, and it did not come with the original instruction sheet, rather just a printout of a PDF. But in that, I can still show you a little something old school that they don't do so much anymore. Alternate builds. Look at that, that looks like an Exoforce mech. that could have been sold as a set just like that. Maybe, you know, clean up the color scheme just a little bit, but that clearly could have been just an Exoforce model. I don't know where the pilot sits, if there is space for one, but they can make space for one. And then over here, this kind of looks like a Jedi Interceptor that's built from the parts of this B-Wing. So two very nice alternate builds that they offered up as possibilities here. They need to do this more. Modern sets are made with more parts than old sets, so you should be able to do even more with them. I hope you've enjoyed looking at this set with me. I've definitely enjoyed checking it out and sharing it with you. Please leave your thoughts about it in a comment down below, and I'll talk to you again soon.